He never spoke, never intervened, stood there as if he wasn't even present. The mall manager complained, "This man is passive, not proactive." Store employees found him robot-like, until an organized theft gang planned their operation. This passive man suddenly activated. He located every gang member's position, cut off escape routes, and caught them one by one. That's when they learned his silence wasn't weakness. It was professional observation. He had worked 18 years as an undercover police officer. Asterisk. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from, and if this story moves you, don't forget to subscribe, because I've got something special prepared for you tomorrow. The first week of March had begun at Westfield Shopping Center, one of Chicago's largest malls. Sunlight filtering through the glass ceilings sparkled on marble floors, illuminating the three-story shopping paradise. Store windows were filled with colorful merchandise. Escalators moved continuously, and the mall's signature music created a soft background ambience. The security desk was positioned at a strategic point right next to the main entrance. From here, all main corridors, exits, and critical points were visible. Behind this desk sat a man who started his duty every morning at 8 a.m. and remained in the same spot until 8 p.m. Robert Bob Williams was 52 years old, medium height, slightly overweight, with graying hair kept neatly trimmed. His navy blue security uniform was always clean and pressed, though it never looked new. His shoes were polished but old, his belt sturdy but faded. Every morning he arrived at the same time, sat at his desk, looked at the computer screen, and remained there until evening. But Bob's most striking characteristic was his absolute silence. Mall manager David Patterson, 38 years old, a university graduate who saw himself as an ambitious executive, loved talking about modern management techniques, and praised efficiency and proactive approaches. In his weekly staff meetings, he would voice his complaints about Bob. "Look, everyone," David would say at his desk, shuffling through files in his hands. "I have serious concerns about our security officer, Robert Williams. The man sits there like a piece of furniture. He doesn't communicate with customers, doesn't act proactively, doesn't take initiative." Assistant manager Sarah Martinez would nod. "He really is very passive. Last week a female customer asked for help. He barely gave her a one-word answer." "Exactly," David would say. "In modern security services, customer relations are crucial. This man is like a programmed robot. He just sits and stares." Electronics store owner Mike Johnson would add his complaints. "I pass by his desk hundreds of times a day. The man sits in the same position every time. Never moves, never talks. You can't tell if he's doing his job or not." Shoe store manager Lisa Thompson would offer harsher criticism. "I think this man doesn't put enough care into his work. We should find someone young, energetic, who can communicate with customers. After this age, people become passive anyway." Bob heard these conversations. The security desk was close enough to the manager's office, but he never reacted. He just listened, took notes, and continued observing. Because Robert Williams wasn't an ordinary security guard. For 18 years, he had worked as an undercover police officer within the Chicago Police Department. He had infiltrated the most dangerous organized crime groups, gotten inside drug cartels, and exposed smuggling networks. His profession was observation, staying quiet, not being noticed. He had taken early retirement in 2020. He was injured in his last operation, spent several months in the hospital, and received psychological support. Doctors recommended a calmer lifestyle, and his wife had also pleaded no more dangerous work. The job at Westfield Shopping Center was exactly what he was looking for. Routine, safe, predictable. No risk, no danger, no life or death decisions. Just sit, observe, keep reports. But old habits died hard. Bob profiled every customer, analyzed every behavioral pattern, identified suspicious situations. From the security desk, he observed the entire mall and created mental maps. The mall manager saw this as passivity. For Bob, it was professional surveillance. Every morning before the mall opened, Bob would take a solo tour. He would check every corridor, every exit, every security camera angle. He memorized which stores had how many customers at what times. He recognized regular customers and noticed newcomers. Emre, the young sales associate at the electronics store, would complain to his friends about Bob. Dude, this guy is weird. Never smiles, never talks. Just stares. It's unsettling. Jessica, who worked at the perfume store, would agree. Exactly. Like he's watching everyone. But he never intervenes. Last week there was a fight. The man didn't even get up from his seat. But Bob had seen that fight. He had analyzed that the argument between two customers wasn't serious enough to be taken seriously and determined it didn't require intervention. His 18 years of experience had taught him to distinguish which situations were dangerous and which were normal. Every lunch break, Bob ate the same meals at the same table. The corner table in the food court was in a strategic position where he could see the entire area. While mall employees found him antisocial, Bob was aware of every movement there. On Monday, March 15th, at 2:30 p.m., Bob noticed something that caught his attention during his routine observations. A three-person group entered through the mall's main entrance. They weren't displaying normal customer behavior. First person, 25 to 30 years old, athletic build, constantly scanning the surroundings, checking security camera positions. Second person, 30 to 35 years old, loose clothing, carrying a backpack. The backpack shape was different from normal, possibly carrying something heavy. Third person, 28 to 32 years old, talking on the phone, but the conversation didn't seem natural. Might be using code words. Bob's 18 years of undercover experience was raising alarms. This wasn't a normal shopping group. The groups separated inside the mall. Each went to a different floor. But Bob was tracking them, without moving from the security desk. He was watching the live feed from security cameras on his monitor. He noted which stores each member visited, how long they spent there, who they talked to. At 3 p.m., mall manager David Patterson approached the security desk. Bob, it would be good if you were a bit more active. Communicate with customers, be proactive. Just sitting isn't your job. I understand, Bob said briefly and concisely. What security checks have you performed today so far? Bob showed the three suspicious individuals on the screen. This group is being monitored. David looked at the screen. They look like normal customers. What's wrong with them? Their behavioral patterns don't match the standard customer profile. What does that mean? David asked with a mocking tone. Everyone shops differently. Bob didn't respond. He continued focusing on the screen. David sighed. This is exactly the passivity I'm talking about. Instead of categorizing customers, help them. Be service-oriented. At 4 p.m., the organized gang's plan went into action. The first member began examining expensive products at the electronics store. He was distracting the sales associate and testing the security system. The second member was examining the valuable collection in the jewelry store windows. He was analyzing security measures and alarm systems. The third member was checking the mall's emergency exit doors, determining escape routes. Bob was tracking each member separately. His 18 years of experience had taught him to recognize organized crime group behavioral patterns. This was a reconnaissance operation. The group was getting to know the mall, identifying security vulnerabilities, preparing for a future operation. At 4:30 p.m., the critical moment arrived. The three members met in the center of the mall. They made hand signals to each other. The plan was approved. It was time to take action. Bob immediately sprang into action. But taking action didn't mean getting up from his seat. It meant professional undercover work. First, he checked all the mall's security cameras one by one. He pinpointed each gang member's exact position. Then he activated the mall's emergency protocols. The silent alarm system was engaged. Next, he secretly communicated with every store. He warned sales associates, told them to direct customers to safe areas. The gang members hadn't noticed yet. They were continuing with their plans. Bob called the police, but not the general number. He called the Special Operations Unit. His former colleagues. Detective Martinez, this is Bob. There's an organized gang operation at Westfield Plaza. 3 people, reconnaissance completed. They're about to take action. Bob? Retired Bob? Yes. I'm currently working at the mall security desk. The situation is serious. Got it. We're sending a team. Monitor the gang. Don't intervene. Understood. But Bob would have to intervene, because the gang wouldn't wait. At 5 p.m., the alarm went off at the jewelry store. The first gang member had smashed the display case glass and attacked the valuable collection. Store personnel were screaming. The second gang member had started collecting expensive devices at the electronics store. The third gang member had opened the emergency exit doors and prepared the escape route. Panic began in the mall. Customers were running around, screaming, looking for safe exits. Bob returned to his 18 years of undercover policing at that moment. He got up from the security desk. But he didn't run, didn't shout, didn't panic. He walked calmly toward the jewelry store. When the first gang member saw Bob, he laughed. "Haha, old security, what are you going to do to us?" Bob didn't respond. He just approached. The gang member pulled out his knife. "Don't come closer, or I'll cut you." Bob stopped. He locked eyes with the gang member. For 18 years, he had faced dozens of armed criminals. He instantly analyzed this man's stress indicators, weak points, and fear level. "You're very young," Bob said in a calm voice. "Is this your first operation?" The man was surprised. "What? Your hands are shaking. Your breathing has accelerated. You're not an experienced gang member. You're not here by choice, are you?" The man stepped backward. "Who are you?" "I'm Bob. 18 years police. I've encountered hundreds of young people like you. Most were forced into it to support their families." The man dropped his knife. Bob moved to the electronics store. When the second gang member saw Bob, he prepared to attack. But Bob had anticipated his movement. With his 18 years of street experience, he calculated the gang member's attack angle, blocked his escape route, and applied professional arrest techniques. The second member was neutralized within 30 seconds. The third gang member was waiting at the emergency exit. When he saw Bob approaching, he tried to escape. But Bob had memorized the exit routes. He knew every corridor, every door. By positioning himself at strategic points, he cornered the gang member. "You have nowhere to run," Bob said. "I've been studying this mall every day for 8 months. I know every exit." The third member surrendered. When the police arrived, the operation was complete. Detective Martinez smiled when he saw Bob. "Retirement suits you, Bob, but you still have the same skill." Mall manager David Patterson looked at Bob in amazement. "Bob, how did you do this?" Bob smiled. 18 years undercover police. Retired. Silence. The next day, there was a note on Bob's desk. "True professionalism is sometimes quietly observing. People who appear passive may actually have the most active minds. I wasn't offended that you thought I was a robot, because real robots can't foresee danger, develop strategies, or save lives." Bob was no longer the passive security guard. He was Westfield Plaza's secret hero. The mall manager now addressed him as Detective Bob. See you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.